On to our Monday, June 21st, 2021 meeting of the Woodley County Board of Commissioners. We'll start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda, we have our attorney, Matt Shipman.
Good afternoon. So there's lots of things on the agenda that we've been working on over the last month, but we can talk about those as they come up. The only thing that's not on the agenda that I know we need to do is to reappoint Todd Nichols to, as I believe it's actually your appointment, George,
Right,
to the Whitley County Regional Sewer and Water District. Todd's here, but he's working, but Todd has expressed interest in continuing to serve. And, you know, as the attorney for the sewer district, Todd's a really good board member, has a lot of historical knowledge of sewer districts, being involved in the Tri-Lake Sewer District for a long period of time. So that's the only thing I have, other than, you know, we're moving very quickly to closing the Armstrong property, probably, hopefully, maybe even, well, maybe not by next meeting, but really close to the next meeting, probably.
okay. While we're thinking about it, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Todd Nichols to the Regional Sewer District.
Second.
Got motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. He does a great job. I know Todd cares.
He's been the longtime Tri-Lakes Property Owners Association president, so he's very involved in the community.
Okay, so Amy Motter, Paula Worden.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
You still like us to say who we are?
Yeah, would you
Okay.
please?
Paula Worden, I'm the Director of Community Corrections,
Amy Motter, Chief Probation Officer.
and we are here today to request your signature approving the submission of the 2022 Community Corrections, and it's called now the Justice Reinvestment Grant application, formerly known as the Indiana Department of Corrections Grant. For community corrections, it's our biggest funding source. Roughly $650,000 a year comes from Department of Corrections to support personnel costs. Primarily, we assign that to the residential work release staff.
Yes, the grant that I request from the Department of Corrections covers one full-time probation officer and one full-time field officer. I ask for their salaries plus all benefits from that.
So is that part of the same grant?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we allow you to apply for the Community Corrections Grant for 2022.
Got a motion to approve? I'll second. Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
If
We
you wanna sign-
appreciate what all you guys do. You do a great job.
Thank you. Do you want to sign this letter? Or? I'll send a copy over to Jim. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you.
Kim Erdly, Nexus contract. Kim is our county assessor.
This is there's two copies there of the contract for the signature page. One is for the DLGF, the Department of Local Government Finance. They need to have original signatures, and then the other one is for the contract.
Okay. We've approved the contract.
Yeah, you approved the
Okay.
contract, Matt's looked everything over and everything looked good to him, so I think everything's fine.
Do you have to make a motion on that, Matt, at all, or?
If we've already approved it before, which if you're positive that that's the case,
Yeah.
then I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
Was it okay, well, maybe then, if it was the approval of the bid as opposed to the contract,
Okay,
That's what I
semantics.
Would that be
think
the
it was,
difference?
yeah.
Okay, that's
Then,
what I-
then yes, let's approve it.
Okay,
For the 2 seconds it takes to do it, let's just cover.
okay.
I'll make a motion for Commissioner Schrumpf to sign the Nexus contract for our assessor, Kim Erdly.
Got a motion? I'll second. Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you. You want me to, how should we arrange then getting Chad's signature when he gets back? Do we need to bring that through another meeting or?
Does it require all three
It
of us to
requires all
sign?
three, yeah.
Okay, I'll amend my motion for all three of us
And I'll
to
amend
sign
my
that.
second.
Okay. Do we need that on the agenda then, Jana?
Yeah, he's
for
not back until the 30th.
for him to sign, Chad to sign or?
As long as
All we
you,
need is
I
two.
think, I think
Yeah.
even just.
it probably is fine with just the 2 because that's the majority.
The majority.
Try
Yeah.
turning it in that way. If they say no, bring it back, we'll get Chad's signature, but
Okay,
it should be fine with just 2.
all right, thank you.
So are things calming down a little bit?
Yeah, they're a little more quiet than they were, yeah. I'm liking it. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Kim.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank
You
you,
as well.
Kim. Nathan Bilger, plat approvals.
Thank you. Nathan Bilger, Planning Director. Have 2 minor plats for your consideration, both of which were approved at the May Plan Commission meeting. One at the May meeting and one at the June meeting. Both are 2-lot plats. The first one here is Geeks Landing on County Road 300 North in Troy Township. And what is being proposed, or what is proposed, is to split off lot 2, which is the road frontage there, and lot 1, which is the larger piece with woods. As you'll notice that there is a shared driveway easement that's a bit unusual in this, and they are addressing that through the means of an easement in order to avoid having a second driveway there per the Highway Department's regulations. So with that, the Plan Commission approved the primary plan.
Okay.
I'll move that we approve the request as presented.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the Deeks Landing plot approval as presented. I'll second. Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
Thank you. The second one that I have is, as I said, another 2-lot plat, Joseph R. Kissinger Estates. This is a replat of 4 lots in Fern Creek Hills, Section 3, I believe. And what they're doing is they own 4 lots and they're recombining down to 2, which based upon how they're recombining it needed to be replatted. And they're just changing it to Joseph R. Kissinger as a new standalone name.
Matt, does Chad need to sign these or no? Since
No, I don't typically that shouldn't be an issue. And we just have to.
Okay, we've got the Joseph R. Kissinger plat approval in front of us.
I'll move that we approve the request as presented.
Got a motion to approve the Kissinger Estates plat approval as presented. I'll second. Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you. And then while you're signing that, just to be on the record, I wanted to clarify because it's been asked a couple times. The Arrowhead Point subdivision, which is a subdivision at the west end of Blue Lake that was up for Plan Commission approval last week. That was approved as a primary plat through the Plan Commission. You guys, the commissioners, don't see plats until they're ready to be recorded, and recordation has to occur after development. The minor plats like these you see pretty quickly because there's no development required, no public streets, infrastructure, and so on. So there's nothing to accept. With Arrowhead Point, there's lots of streets they actually have to perform or post sureties. And in that case, then you guys would see it either to accept the improvements or to accept the sureties. So assuming about 3 or 4 months for engineering and construction for the first phase, most likely you won't see anything until at earliest August if he posts sureties for everything, but more likely sometime in either November or December. So,
Thank you.
The comprehensive plan, I know there were going to be a few minor updates.
Mhm.
Have you heard anything about that?
I have scheduled a meeting with the steering committee tomorrow morning to go over what was the issues that were brought up, as well as the specific points that were brought up at the public hearing. And as you know, Teresa, the Plan Commission continued it to the public hearing to their regular July meeting. So hopefully we'll button up the concerns that were raised at the special meeting and then bring it to your next commissioner meeting, which I'm not sure how the dates fall. It may be the first meeting in August.
Okay, and are they just presenting the changes made at the next meeting, I presume?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll present the changes. Again, most of the changes were pretty straightforward, like typos or clarification. There were a couple things that may be more substantial, and so the steering committee will have to discuss whether to make a change or whether not to, and if so, how to. So,
Okay, thank you. I know you've worked very hard on that.
thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thanks.
Lisa Waterman,
I've got some of my friends here. Just all come up here.
come right up. This is Blue Lake Conservancy District.
It's nice to meet you in person. Saw you the other night. Commissioner said.
If you could give us your name and your address.
I'm Lisa Waterman. I live at 5353 North 700 East, Churubusco, Indiana.
Steve Henchen with Jones, Petrie, Rafinsky, 222 East Pearl Street, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Vincent Simmers, 6654 East Trail Road, Churubusco, Indiana, board member.
So I have chatted a little bit with George and a little bit with Chad, and I apologize because I was like, should I call everybody? And they said they would share this with you. So the Blue Lake Conservancy District is a sewage utility that surrounds Blue Lake, which is about 1.5 miles west of Churubusco. We are a conservancy district, and as such, we were outside of the realms of receiving any SWIFT monies. However, an operating utility and all of our waste gets ultimately transported by pipe to the town of Churubusco for processing. So with that, the SWIFT funds that were received, we have some ideas that we would really like to present to you for consideration. Understanding that Blue Lake is not, I mean, it is kind of one of those up and coming lakes, but right now there's some nice homes, but most of the homes are more like old lake cottages and such. The Conservancy District really has beautified the lake by cleaning it up a lot, but we still have, I would say, a lower overall demographic regarding income. So without receiving any funds, we do need to come up with 50% of the money of any of the projects. So that is our hope, that we could be hopefully a recipient of some of the funds that you've received. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Henchen, who has been our engineer with the Conservancy District for a number of years, to detail the 3 possible projects. And these projects add up to 2.6 million. And each one of them is slightly different and covers different segments of the possible SWIFT program.
So just to take a quick step back, the SWIFT is the recently the state of Indiana received from the federal government in $50 million increments money for infrastructure improvements. So it's the state water infrastructure funds. There's an application process that came out just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Applications are due July 15th. So we knew that there was some type of program coming, but until we saw what was all involved, we just jumped on that with Blue Lake, and they have been working on several issues over the years, and they have a working asset management plan, and they've identified areas of needs in their system, plus some potential septic elimination projects. So when the SWIFT program announcement was made, we worked together with the district here to identify some of these key projects, because it's kind of once in a lifetime opportunity where they're providing, the SWIFT program is providing up to 50% of a project cost. And so what the district is looking for, okay, is there any other local matches available? And, you know, some of the funding that's come down through the county is one avenue that they wanted to pursue looking at, and that's why we're here today. So briefly, project overviews. Second page of our memo there is a map of the Blue Lake Conservancy District. And I'm just going to walk through the couple projects that we've talked about. Up towards the very top of the project, you see a note there that says Septic Elimination Project Timber Lane Service Area. That's an area of about 25, maybe a few more homes there that we know that there's been septic issues there over the years. Way back when this district was formed, it originally was intended to be larger, but because of some petitioners against projects in certain areas, district boundaries were kind of scaled back a little bit. But this is an area, obviously, we feel from past records and information from one or two of the property owners out there, there's a big need right there.
If I could just interject, I had looked because I had thought to call a gentleman who has come to our meeting several times over my tenure of service, begging us to take them in because the septic systems are all failing. The unfortunate thing is most of the folks there have no money to do the project. So they know if we extended the line, they would need to start paying in. It's a problem, but they don't have any money. And Scott just came walking forward.
I can testify on their behalf that Timberland Acres has an issue there. Most of the homes are 50+ years old, the septic systems are old. And most of the septics are no bigger than a 2-bedroom. So people are wanting to replace, upgrade single wides that are out there now. Double wides are larger, they can only do 2 bedrooms because there's no way to add a septic. And there's even properties out there that they want to sell, but because they don't have a record or it's too old, they can't build a house. So still, for Timberland Acres, neat thing. And the fact that it does all drain to the Blue Lake area would be important. I think something's that.
Is that area currently within your district boundaries? Because
No, it's not. It would need to be ultimately
so
annexed.
isn't it really in the countywide sewer district?
And water does go that direction.
But I mean, the countywide sewer district basically encompasses all areas which are not already an area. True, right?
Yes, it does. And, you know, I think both I don't want to speak for the Whitley County Regional Water and Sewer District and Blue Lake, but I think the idea is
Cleaning.
who does it is probably not the big deal. The deal is it needs to be done.
And it would seem, you know, and just as Steve laid out, if you look at this, it would, I don't know where the county would take it. It would probably be coming to us anyway, simply by virtue of its
We
proximity
have
to
sewer
the
lines
rest. We have,
right down
lines
County
running
Road
down that road.
575.
Where is that in relation to the Churubusco project? That's that direction. Are they
Catty
close?
corner. So the pink, the new one is over here.
No, our south, is it South Churubusco project?
Yeah, that's-
No.
Oh, we're north of
Oh,
town.
no, wewe're northwest.
It'd be closer to
This ties
Shelby.
it, there's already an existing, Blue Lake has an existing lift station, and there's a direct line to Churubusco's wastewater plant.
Yeah, I don't have any idea.
This would tie into that.
Our existing Conservancy
Goes,
process.
the sewer line runs down County Road 550 to 33, and then it meanders over.
Okay, okay, so it's along the main.
Goes up the north side of Busco.
So
So that's what I thought. So you guys use Busco's treatment plant. Okay.
And we're governed, I was going to mention that, I apologize, Teresa. We're governed under something called an interlocal agreement that has been in existence for about 30 years since the Conservancy District was established. Ironically, I was on the town council at the time when we did that. And at that time, I distinctly remember them coming, the Blue Lake Association and Belgian Association building, and begged us to do it because they couldn't even flush their toilets. That's how bad things were. So we've come a long way, baby, that's for sure. The unfortunate part is that Timber Lane still needs drastic attention. That's a high area of concern for us.
So what is the relationship then between the regional sewer district? Should that be a part of this also?
Well, so the countywide regional sewer district in essence was formed to capture all areas not previously already established within another district. But it could potentially be exactly right that it doesn't mean that ultimately we couldn't form an agreement and that it might make more sense for Blue Lake to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The goal of all of these is exactly what they said. It's septic elimination, get
Right.
sewage out of the waterways, get it into a system that processes it. But how this is the first I don't know how this would all fit necessarily or not fit, given we're kind of simultaneously running projects there. Both those projects are ultimately going to end up in Churubusco. So neither one of us have a plant. So ultimately how that would work, I don't know.
Well,
I don't even
something
have a
too-
visual picture of where we're talking about.
Yeah, something also that is part of this interlocal agreement is volume. And we measure our volume every day and we're under monthly limitations. So accepting the pink square there is the new project Arrowhead, I think it's called. Even taking that into account, we're still under our allowable volumes under previous agreements with the town. So we don't really think, adding them also is going to cause some kind of issue. We'd probably be, I would think, getting pretty close to our capacity though, just with flow. Part of the struggle with every sewer system is to try and only process waste and not rainwater. So we have had an active I&I infiltration and inflows process. We're dedicating $10,000 a year. And ironically, we've already seen with the fixes that we've done, kind of where the blue squares are already, have made a value difference in reducing our volume. So we're certainly making headway. Along with that, we've instituted in the last rate increase a capital improvements fund. That's what Steve was mentioning. So we're allocating $25,000 a year to do capital improvements already. However, it's going to take a lot to ultimately reach anything with Timber Lane. And then I'll let Steve carry on with some of the other stuff. But we've also taken into account that main lift station, if you could go to that next, is the key piece between us and the town of Churubusco. That takes care of everything. So the Conservancy District actually just purchased and is in the process, and Vince was the person who championed that project, to get a Generex generator there. So we can always have processing going on. So, but it's a failing system, or not a failing system, it's a getting old. We're all at 30 years now, most of our infrastructure.
Yeah, and that's actually project number 3 on our list, main pump station replacement. In fact, about a month and a half ago, there was actually a major pipe failure in that pump station. Wastewater from the sewer system is pretty corrosive by the time you get to the lift station, and it actually had rusted through ductile iron pipe and actually cracked it. And the district then had to go on an emergency basis, calling a contractor, and I don't recall what the final bill was.
It was right around
probably
25,000.
25,000 to come in and just replace that section of pipe. That whole station, pumps, motors, everything there is 20+ years old, and it's really the end of its useful life. And that is, as Lisa said, a critical piece of infrastructure for the district. They've already invested money for the generator. That would not have to be replaced, so things can be worked around the newer items that they've replaced on that. But ballpark estimate for that is about 500,000. The Timber Lane project was about $1.1 million, what we were talking about there. And then the last project is depicted on this map by some of the color shaded areas. We did a detailed hydraulic study of this system years ago, or not years ago, 3 years ago. Because the district was having some issues. As a result of our study, they've taken very proactive steps to do infiltration and inflow elimination. But we still have identified certain areas that either have wet weather issues or some zones that needed some upgrades just due to the proposed new development. So the stuff in blue is kind of the areas that needed some assistance with the new development. The areas that are that orange highlight, couple on the north and south ends there on the west end, have issues when there's wet weather. We expect some of those will be lessened with the II, but still overall, you're never going to eliminate all that inflow and infiltration. And these are just some areas that need to have some improvements. That total project cost all in with construction and non-construction is about $1 million. So these are 3 key or critical projects totaling about $2.6 million, okay? And, you know, if this district is, they're intending to apply for the SWIFT, like I said, they're due in a couple weeks. If they're able to get that, that's one of the reasons they're here requesting some matching funds in the amount of about $1.3 million.
And my understanding from Jeff Rao, who's with Baker Tilly, is the allocation that Whitley County received with SWIFT funds, I believe was about 6.8 or 6.9 million.
Closer to 6.6.
6.6,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Do you guys need the commitment prior to applying? You know, with the county sewer district, we're already in the queue and
Right.
and bonding. Is this, how does this,
This
timing wise, how does it work?
This is you apply, and then August 6th, they make announcements. Probably between July 15th and the August 6th announcement, they'll want a little more formal commitment, definitive about what the local match will be. When we submit the application, we're not indicating a specific funding source at this point.
So I don't know if you guys have formalized an actual plan about how best to use the SWIFT funds yet, have you?
Well, what we've done, and we'll be dealing with that in a little bit here, is we've got Baker Tilly is involved with it. Baker Tilly is coming up with a 5-year plan for us on all of our expenditures and income for the 5 years to make sure that jail project, anything that we do, that we've got funding for it. And then they're going to work with us on the ARP funding also. And but we're going to work with them on coming up with a plan because we have to be audited. Anything that we spend on this, we're going to have to be audited. So we're making sure that what we do is proper. But the federal government hasn't even come up with the final determination on the rules and restrictions on this yet. There's a problem with this whole thing. But we will take you into consideration. I'm sure that that's not an issue. But we have to know where we stand as far as our commitments. I know that we've got a few commitments with community corrections. And then I think we've got some broadband commitments.
Yeah, there's been extensive talks about the funds up until this point. A project like this, in all honesty, I don't think is going to be on the agenda for the funds. So I would hate for you guys to spend a lot of time on applying for something that you're not going to be able to get the matching funds for. I don't know if you've talked to the council and Chair Busco, since this affects the town more than just the town versus the entire county. So you might want to get on their agenda and talk to them about it, because I do know they're working with the regional sewer district as well to upgrade the treatment plant over there. So that would be my suggestion, that you guys.
Is there, with Matt, with you talking about the, whether a partnership or something, the elimination of septic systems is a big deal. And the proximity that Timber Lane has to the lake itself, and that should prioritize this project instead of eliminate it at its inception, in my opinion. And I'm just saying that because that's a fact, and Scott's sitting there shaking his head.
When the
It's a big
sewer district
deal.
was constructed about 5-6 years ago, the Timber Lane was one of the areas identified.
It's on the list, yeah. Is it in our,
Proximity to geographically shutting to the lake.
is it in one of the 17 properties identified in the IDEM order that we got?
I have to look for sure.
Yeah, that was my question, why it wasn't already in the project.
I guess that was my question is we formed a regional sewer district to help with projects like this.
Mhm.
And we got funding for that.
It could be another, I don't know how often we can go to the state for funding for projects like that, but.
Typically, they have a 1-year funding cycle, so
Mhm.
every
Next year,
July.
it was next year.
And the SWIFT program itself is over a 2-year period, so there's first phase, July 15th this year, second phase, July 15th of the following year.
And then the difficulty at the cost of the project, but it really only benefits 25 to 50 people. We can hardly justify coming up with $1 million to do it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So we would never annex them unless we're receiving funding. And yet, like if you look at the map, that yellow, so the yellow line, Matt, basically is to Cherubusco, and Cherubusco sits like here, right?
That's the sewer main.
But as you come up and see the red line going across the top, that's the existing sewer line. And Timberlane's right there. So it literally is right next to our
That's
line.
right, too.
Oh, okay.
It's all downhill. Practically do a gravity system.
Yeah, it's, everybody got unexpected funds from these SWIFT funds and, from the county's perspective, before those funds came, there was a wish list of priorities that they've been working on for years. And, it would be, I know as the council for the county sewer district, as well as Tri-Lake Sewer District, they have the same kinds of projects that they are on their wish list, but how, and this is obviously you guys' decision, but if you decided, hey, some of these funds should go to sewer systems, how you would even decide amongst the 3 that are in our county. I don't know what the criteria would be. Probably environmental impact would have a huge, which is what drove our countywide sewer districts, but and economic need, I would think would be the 2 factors. But at the same time, a 7 million or 6.6 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at what it costs to do projects as a governmental entity, it doesn't really go as far as you would think. So unfortunately.
Well, we ask for your careful consideration, appreciate the audience, and then recognizing with the project that's going in Arrowhead, we will be receiving additional funds, but that's really going to be earmarked towards doing the high head pumps and making sure we never have any issues there. So Timberlane, I'd say in my mind is the biggest need by far. The lift station, we absolutely need to do that. So we'll try to do that within our capital improvements, but if you're going to look at anything, definitely look at Timberlane to help that because those people don't have any money and it's too big of a cost for us to ever annex without some kind of assistance.
One thing to look at also is I think that the federal government is looking at an infrastructure project of providing money to the counties and the states to do projects. And maybe that could be part of that too.
Well, my worry, in all honesty, is the infrastructure that you guys are talking about, it is allowable for sewer projects, and we will always be not on your wish list. You'll always have your own.
Right.
So I don't know however we move to the top, because we're just little Blue Lake Conservancy District. So yet they're not allocating dollars to a Conservancy District. So this project will probably never get done, and it will carry on because there's no resolution, unfortunately.
The hard part too is, Conservancy districts have the ability to tax. So that's the other, and potentially commissioners, you didn't realize that, but there's a difference between a regional sewer district and a Conservancy district. The main difference being ultimately they can institute a tax and the people who are served by the system could pay the tax ultimately that do projects like these. Not suggesting at all that you should do that, but that is a distinction that sometimes I have heard other governmental agencies say, hey, you have a mechanism that the other districts don't have. If you really want to do these projects, it's an unpopular thing to talk about in a meeting amongst your neighbors, but ultimately that is the reality. I haven't It doesn't
And-
happen around here very often.
But that's the reality with the county too. I mean, that's the reality with everybody. We may have it outside of the regional sewer district, but again, by our proximity, it would make the most sense for us to do it. I would just say, I don't know if we can form a partnership or do something like that. But the fact is, every entity here has taxing authority. The Conservancy district, does, but on the same token, we've got of our bill, 8575 is the current bill. Half of that actually is going to pay previous infrastructure. So our usage cost is somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 to $45. And then the remainder is paying off the bond of the infrastructure that was laid out, some 30 years ago. And we can't pay it off early. So it'd be nice to bank money, but we can't even begin paying off any of that early until 2024. So it would be tough to go back and now begin taxing again. That's always the difficulty everywhere, is trying to make that still a usable rate. So
Would you suggest that maybe if they do allocate funds through SWIFT, August or September meeting, so district would name them as a priority for the next cycle?
Are you talking about the sewer? I mean, the sewer district wouldn't have funds to allocate to that. Is that what
I'm
you're
saying, like, if we name that as a project for next year.
Oh, yeah, for the sewer district
Yes.
potentially to.
Right.
Yeah, we're still in the process, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but of actually negotiating our interlocal agreement with Churubusco, and I don't think Churubusco's in the audience, so it may make sense to figure out who gets the best rate out of Churubusco to figure out who should do the project, kind of. In reality, I mean, because at the end of the day, the keeping the rates as low as possible for the homeowners who likely probably can't afford it anyway, is probably what's best for that neighborhood. I just don't know. And if you guys' line runs right there, there would be no reason that we would ever want to do it unless we did it by agreement with you guys as part of a bigger project, or maybe that's our Ochre project for next year or something.
And that's possible too, because there's Timberline, which is the little rectangle there. But we only serve a small portion of that whole, there's a bunch of trailers right through there too. So that could be a bigger project. We just know that the septic systems are failing in the orange rectangle that abuts to the white.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's something continuing to discuss. I don't know where those conversations lead, but it sounds like it needs to be done somehow or another. That's where Steve figures out how we can get stuff taken care of.
Well, and two, that's why I'm obviously pushing here, because it's an issue, you guys. It just is an issue. And if I were there, I would have my projects, but we're little Churubusco over here, and we're not even Churubusco, we're Blue Lake. So we will never be on your list, because you're always going to have these bigger projects. So at some point, we got to get over there because we've got issues going on. So. And then Matt, help me to understand. So are you in charge of the regional sewage district?
No, I'm the attorney for the district.
Okay.
And also for Tri-Lakes, as well as multiple other districts, but I don't have any authority.
It's a
Sure.
seven-member board.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a board,
And I think I know a couple of the members.
which
Yeah.
Todd Nichols, who we just
Yeah.
reappointed tonight, he lives at Tri-Lakes.
Industrial is,
Mark Peppel
Yep.
is the
the
Churubusco.
other one that Don just read.
Rudy Wilfong is
Yeah.
the
Oh, I know Ruby,
Churubusco.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have a chat with them, because I think we got to do partnering or something, because there's just too big of an issue there particularly. The rest of it kind of comes down to, these are things that need to get done and there's free money available, but we don't really want a bond. That may be what we ultimately do, because you're going to have 50% paid for. So we just wanted to ask you guys first to see if we could be part of the funding, whatever amount, and anything you guys could offer us would be better than zero.
Sure.
So,
For sure.
okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Okay, interlocal agreement, and I think this is with Larval,
Yes.
Brandon. Here it is.
So This is part of Brandon's community crossings project. There's a road in Larwell that I think, I'm gonna mess this up. It's under our jurisdiction, but Larwell is improving it, and it really should be a Larwell road. So we did an interlocal agreement to make NDOT happy, so that we could actually use the community crossings money on a Larwell. Is that?
So they're committing to the.
Okay.
Remind me, didn't we do an interlocal agreement with them?
We talked about it at,
But we didn't actually.
we didn't take action on it. And then I think because there was a couple changes that needed to be made. And then it subsequently went back. Larwell, I don't know if you have the one that Larwell has signed. Larwell's actually approved it at this point. And I do believe it's ready and appropriate to take action on now.
Okay. I'll move that we approve the interlocal agreement with Larwell and allow Commissioner Schrumpf to sign it.
Okay, we got a motion. I'll second that. Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you. Okay, Baker Tilly, scope of work agreement. I don't know, do you want to present that or?
I can. So as George mentioned a little bit ago, Baker Tilly's doing, and I didn't bring them with me, so I won't have the titles, but is going to look at the 5-year plan for us on how best to use and prioritize the SWIFT funds as well as the ARP funds, I believe.
ARP, yeah.
To develop a kind of a 5-year plan. And then the other one is the revenue bonds related to the jail.
Yeah. So we've got 4 different agreements here. The first agreement is an engagement letter agreement related to services. And this is just it confirms the understanding of the basis of what Baker Tilly is, how it works with Woodley County. And it just gives the scopes, objectives, and approach of this. And so this is the first of the 4 contracts that we need to sign.
I think I have this one. Okay, so I looked it over. Matt, did you look it over and it all
Yeah,
looks good? Okay.
It's pretty much their standard engagements that we've seen multiple times, and makes sense to me. I mean, ultimately, I like the strategy of let's develop the plan and make sure that it's subject to audit before we get too far down the road so we understand exactly what makes the most sense. And like most federal programs, it's clear as mud. So
The good thing is we can take the monies that we're using for these contracts out of the ARP funds. So it's not really costing the county anything in this, but we really need to get that taken care of where we know where we stand and we're able to stand up to an audit and also do a 5-year plan so that we know where we stand for the next 5 years.
So that does include the 5-year comprehensive plan that we talked about on
Yes.
the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
And secondly, we have the consulting services related to the ARP. Basically what we're going to work with Baker Tilly on that to make sure that anything that we come up with as an expenditure for that, the Baker Tilly will look at that and make sure that it's comparable to their rules. It's under their rules for federal government or the federal government on that. The problem is they don't know what the rules are yet. So as soon as we find that out, we'll be able to use the monies. And I think they've already put the monies in our account. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking at, it's half 1 year and half the next year. So that's the second commitment that we have. Then we have municipal advisory services, which is a comprehensive financial plan, which is the 5-year plan. We do the same thing with our redevelopment corporation to make sure that any kind of commitments we make, that down the road, we can handle it. And with the jail coming up here, we have to make sure that any commitments we make that, and they're very conservative, very conservative. So then the next one we have is a municipal advisory service for debt issuance, arbitrage, and continuing disclosure of revenue bonds for 2021. And this revenue bonds will be for the jail that we're working with Baker Tilly and Ice Miller at this point, and our council to make sure that we can get the best deal that there is on that. So a lot of commitments here, but I think it would be proper for us to approve them.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request as presented from Baker Tilly on the documents and to allow Commissioner Shrupp to sign them.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the documents from Baker Tilly for the services, and with the chairman to be able to sign for the services. I'll second. Discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. These are the ones that you want us to sign then, or have you got? Okay, last meeting, we tabled the IN.gov commitment for services for, basically it's for our internet service for website, right? Yeah, please.
It actually allows us to have an agreement every year with the state of Indiana to be able to run motor vehicle records checks as well as criminal background checks for new employees.
I think the question that Commissioner Banks had was how much it cost every time.
It's $95 annually for just the service, and then it'll depend on how many checks we run. So I think I included in there, but for a motor vehicle check, I think each one was $6 or $7.
Okay.
And then for a criminal background check, I believe it's about $14.
Pretty reasonable, really.
It is. So it'll vary depending on how many new employees we have and how many record checks we need to make.
Okay. I'll move that we approve the agreement as presented and to allow Commissioner Schrumpf to sign.
Got a motion, I'll second with discussion. So does this will, when our insurance companies are asking us for background checks, we'll be able to use these prices, use this on that. Good, okay. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you. Brandon Forrester is our county highway engineer for a bid approval and highway department update.
Yes, so at your last meeting, you opened up bids for paving for community crossings project. I went through all 4 bids, all the unit prices for each segment, and verified everyone's prices were correct and verified that Brooks Construction was the low bidder at all of the pertinent documents. So we have their standard Form 96 state form. I would recommend approval. Brooks's bid for $796,858, 75% of which is paid to us from the state. Signatures.
Matt, have you looked at this?
I haven't seen that, but that's the standard state form.
Okay.
For a claim. Right.
Thank you. I'll move that we approve the bid as presented.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the Brooks Construction bid as presented for the community crossings grant. I'll second. Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
At council meeting, I received a verbal consensus commitment to budget money for equipment for next year so that we can bid 2 tandem trucks. And so that's just a notice to bidders that we have to publish twice before the 19th meeting. Will accept those bids if you would.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the notice to bidders.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the notice to bidders for the 2 tandems. I'll second. Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
Matt, does he need Chad's signature?
On the notice.
Yeah, or just 2. Okay.
So another project we're working on is our bridge inspection. We had a scoring team of Chad Banks, Kevin Alexander, and myself, and the scoring resulted in engineering resources being selected preliminarily. And so they will be getting us a draft contract for us to, review and, negotiate scope and things of that sort. So that, which is, bridge inspection is a federal aid, so 80% reimbursement. So that is moving along. Also federal aid project, our ADA sidewalks and curb ramps. The RFP did get posted on June 18th and letters of interest are due July 19th, which is the day of your next commissioner meeting. You will be expected to do anything with those at that time. Again, we'll have a scoring committee of your choosing and go through that process. The community crossings, obviously, we've got these bids accepted. July 5th is the next beginning of the next call for community crossing. So we've got the month of July. Obviously, per your previous action, we'll apply for the Larwell project. The overall estimate on that project is about $56,000, and Larwell has committed to 1/4 of that. And then Engineering Resources is working on the design and permitting for the 800 East project. So it's my hope to get those two applied for. Depending on how the estimate for that county line project goes, I may throw another mile or two of paving in, because we have 378,000 available of our $1 million that we can apply for this year. So
these are projects for next year, though.
it would be for next year, yes. Once you get an award, you have, I believe, unless they change it, 18 months to complete. So.
Okay.
So that's all I have for today.
Brandon, on 9, are they going to open that up soon, or have you heard anything on that?
I haven't heard anything definitive. The schedule that was presented to me at the beginning of the project, I want to say June 26th or 30th or something, by the end of the month, it's supposed to be a completion date. I'm sure that's weather dependent. And it's an N.gov project, so I haven't been checking up on them, to be honest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hopefully soon, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, next on the agenda, we have payroll and accounts payable claims approval. Payroll claims I looked at this morning. Everything looks fine on the claims. Again, Tiffany and the auditor's office does a great job on that. I did have a couple of questions, talked to Jana about that, and we got them all cleared up. So I just would ask for approval for the payroll claims.
I'll make a motion that we approve payroll.
Got a motion to approve payroll claims. I'll second. Discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. And then accounts payable claims.
I'll move that we approve accounts payable.
Got a motion to approve the accounts payable claims. I'll second. Further discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. It always amazes me the payroll that we have every 2 weeks. Okay, next we have on the agenda, we have our previous meeting minutes approvals.
I'll move that we approve the minutes from June 7th, 2021.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the June 7th, 2021 minutes for the commissioners. I'll second. Discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you. Did you have anything?
No, I didn't. Janet was just showing me something that I need to probably look into more that we can deal with next meeting, it looks like.
Janet?
Just, it's for that advanced time. Council has allowed me to move forward with that, so I'm just gonna let him look over everything, make sure it's okay, and present it next week for approval.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner?
I have nothing.
I do have one thing. I have, there's a technology consulting and services agreement from DBLY Group. And that's for working with Preferred IT and making sure that what they do is they track all of our databases and they analyze everything that our Preferred IT group cannot handle. And it's a secondary operation that we have with them. So I would ask that we approve the DBLY project for $120 an hour, not to exceed $4,800.
I'll second.
Got a second? Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. And I will amend that to be approved or to be signed by the chair.
I'll amend my second.
Thank you. Okay, I have nothing more or anything from the public at all. Motion to adjourn. So moved. Thank you, everyone.